Acting President Harun.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Wai Ming. Welcome to this today's meeting. Today is January 20th, a big day for our country. So this is an important day, and we are all hoping, given the events of the last 2 weeks, we hope that everything goes well. First of all, I'd like to start things off by welcoming our guests. Today we have a guest, Amit. Amit, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here this morning?
Yeah, I'm Amit. I stay in Santa Clara, Bay Area. I've been in Bay Area for last about 10 years. And I was looking I was basically Googling around how can I improve my speaking skills. And then I came across some of the Toastmasters videos and how they conduct the meetings and all, and I really liked it. So I searched the Toastmasters clubs around me, around Santa Clara area. I found this one. I thought, let me give it a try. And because of COVID, like the format is online and it's easy to reach out and attend one. So I just got started today.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Amit, for coming in today, and we hope that you enjoy our meeting today, and that you'll at least take something away, learn about Toastmasters, how we conduct meetings, and perhaps even consider joining us.
Thank you.
At this point in time, I'd like to introduce our Toastmaster. Our Toastmaster of the day is Wai Ming Ma, a longtime pillar of our club, who has contributed greatly in many roles, and of course is a very regular speaker at our clubs. But when the need arises, he'll volunteer for any kind of role for a meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, please welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Wai Ming Ma.
Thank you, Harun. Well, good morning, everybody. We're going to start the meeting today, and it's supposed. Okay, so let's start the meeting with our invocator, who's Jose.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wai Ming. I would like to say a few words in regards to our topic for today, which is sources of information and news. There's always a saying wherein when we see the news, it shouldn't let it affect us. It shouldn't be making us depressed or making us sad, because sometimes the news is not good. But the flip side of that is that we have to feed our curiosity. So we need to have the news. So it's good to have the news, but there's a point where there's enough of it. And after you've had the news, you have to think about how your perspective of it and how you would like to perceive it, so it doesn't affect you negatively. So in a way, looking at news is a matter of choice, and it's a matter of self-control. So if we have very good choices and we perceive our news as much better in some positive light, then it should have a positive effect on us. Again, we have to feed our curiosity. And those are the thoughts for this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jose. Well, so for the benefit of our guests, as well as just to describe what this meeting is about for the next hour plus, we're going to go through 3 sections of the meeting on Toastmaster. The first section are prepared speeches, and today we have 2 prepared speeches from 2 speakers from our club. And then after that, we'll go through evaluation, which would provide specific feedback to each of the speakers by specific evaluators. And then the third section is the table topics, which is going to be conducted by Jose, and he's going to ask some of us question, and we have 1.5 minutes to answer the question. And that's the impromptu portion of the meeting. So those are the three sections of the meeting. To run the meeting, we have a number of duties that we have assigned to various folks, and we're going to run through the duties before we start those three sections of the meeting. The first duty master is the R counter, and that is Anesh. Anesh, would you describe the function of the?
Thank you, Toastmaster. Good morning, everyone, and fellow members, and most welcome guests. My name is Anesh, and today my role is R counter. As a R counter, my job is to count how many filler words are there in your speech, like while you're talking, or during your speech, or during your evaluation time, or even during the table topic time. So towards the end of the meeting, I'm going to report that number of hours you used to Toastmaster. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Anesh. And the timer function, I'm going to be the timer today. And the timer is to run the time for the prepared speeches as well as the evaluation and the table topics. The prepared speeches, we're going to have a speaker speaking for 8 minutes or so. So I'm going to time it for 8 to 10 minutes. At 8 minutes, the green light will come on. At 9, the yellow, and then at 10, the red light, and then the speaker has 30 seconds to finish. And you can actually see the timer window in one of the squares when you go in the grid view in Zoom. And then our second speaker is going to speak for 7 minutes. So it's going to be I'm going to time for 5 to 7 minutes. And that's at 5 minutes, the green light will come on, 6 minutes, the yellow, and then at 7, the red light. And then the speaker has 30 seconds to finish. I need to adjust my time for the 8 to 10 minutes. 8 to 10 minutes, I think we're going to start at 6 to 8 somehow. So I have to adjust it. And then for the evaluation is 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, the green light will come on, 2.5 yellow, and then 3 minutes, the red light, and the evaluator has 30 seconds to finish. And table topics 1 to 2 minutes. At 2 minutes, the red light will come on, and the speaker has 30 seconds to finish. So, and I'll report the time at the end of the meeting. That's timer's function. Our word master is Jose.
Yes, good morning, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. We specify certain words that we have to use for our speeches, just one word, and use it somewhere along your speech. And I'll be the word master to track that. The word for today is inexorable, meaning it's an adjective, meaning unable to be moved or stopped. The definition and example will be in the chat. You'll see it in the chat of this Zoom. So use it in 1 or 2 times in your speech. Use the word. Again, the word is inexorable. For example, Joe Biden's presidential inauguration today is inexorable because it's an American tradition. So I'll put that definition in the chat and use the word. Thank you. The word is inexorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. We're supposed to use the word in our speaking. So Toastmaster, in some sense, is inexorable from now on because every week we're going to have a meeting. So hopefully it'll be inexorable for a long time. In any case, so that's the word of the day. And our grammarian is Georgie. Georgie, would you describe your function?
Yes, the role of grammarian is to listen to our use of the English language. I will keep a list of all the positive uses of the English language that I hear. I will also include things that could be improved. I will provide a report at the end of the meeting. Thank
you, Georgie. Now, there's a ballot counter function, and I think we're going to have a poll. So between, I think, Haroon and Georgie, do we have a poll today?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will be the ballot counter. So our ballot counting is basically where you vote for the best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topics. And the idea is that once you've started speaking, you evaluate and you think whoever, and you nominate the person who was the best speaker in these three categories. I will be sending out a link to you on the chat window where you can vote for the best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topics. At the end of the meeting, you'll be asked to go to this website where you can vote, and we'll tally it. Well, Google will tally the final scores and let us know who's the winner. Thank you very much, and I will send out the link momentarily.
Thank you, Haroon. You're also the video master.
I am the video master. Thank you again, Mr. Table Topics, Mr. Toastmaster. As video master, my responsibility is to record the proceedings of the video of this meeting. If you do not wish to be recorded, please let me know. I can pause the video recording. Once the meeting is over, I will upload this to a private YouTube channel and send out the link to on our WhatsApp group. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Haroon. Now, we just need in case Hannah doesn't show up, we need a backup general evaluator. So I was curious whether Gautam would be the backup general evaluator.
Yep, sure.
That's great. Thank you. So we have a general evaluator just in case. So we're going to start the first section of the meeting, which is prepared speeches. So we have two prepared speeches today, and our first prepared speech is by Haroon. Haroon is a longtime member. He's the acting president. He has been the treasurer of the club, and he has given many speeches, very interesting, thought-provoking speeches. And today he's going to talk about a particular topic. Let's welcome Haroon to speak on this topic.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Let me just get everything in order. Today, I'm going to talk about my personal productivity system that has allowed me to manage my life and professional goals. My system has been a work in progress for many years now, and it's still evolving. But for the past few months, I noticed that the change had slowed considerably. I found myself making fewer and fewer tweaks in the system, and that led me to believe that I finally come upon something that's mature, that is simple and robust to handle change. And which is why I decided that this would be really a good time for me to sort of show it to you and demonstrate it, or not just demonstrate it, but tell you about it. While there are many aspects to the system that I've developed, I think that the two most important things are what I'm going to talk about today. Number one are actions, the building blocks of my system. And number two, and the second most important thing, how to schedule these actions. And finally, I'll conclude by giving a small explanation of how this system has evolved and do a quick review of the systems that have inspired me. So let's talk about actions. What are actions in my system? Actions are the building blocks of my action management system. If you were to take an 8,000 feet view of my action management system, you might think that this is just an endless to-do list, and you'd be right. Actions are exactly what I focus on. For me, an action is a single unit, an atomic action which cannot be broken down any further. Another way to think about an action is that anything I can do within 30 minutes or less is deemed as something that I have to do. Now, 30 minutes is not a hard limit. I'll attempt anything that takes longer than 30 minutes, I'll attempt to break it down, but I won't sweat over it. If it's something that takes 60 or 40 or 2 hours, I'll just go ahead and put that in my list. Now, you might be wondering that why I've discarded the notion of projects. Well, rest assured I have not. But instead, I've decided to organize my actions around goals. Now, why did I choose this particular aspect, this particular way of doing things? Well, even though that there's a large amount of productivity literature that suggests that you should organize around projects and have actions supporting those projects, I personally found that organization to be too complicated. My main criticisms about a project-first approach for productivity are two. One, projects seem to have a never-ending quality, then take a life of their own. The only way to stop working on a project is to abandon it. And if you're someone as compulsive as I am, you'll never give up on a project, and you get stuck in an endless loop. Second, projects are attention hogs. They tend to consume your focus. We all know that life is messy, it's complicated, and you could be working on multiple things. It's just not possible for you to sort of focus on one thing and at the expense of the other. In a world where everything seems to be connected, you need to be able to work on multiple things and to sort of switch focus whenever you have to. Instead, I focus on actions that are organized around goals. And if you have to call the projects, go ahead. Each goal has a finite number of actions. And having a hard limit on those number of actions is important. Whenever those finite number of actions is done, the goal is accomplished. I am done with it. I tend to avoid adding explicit dates around goals. Instead, I add dates around actions. Once those target dates are complete and those actions are complete, that lets me focus on the immediate term of finishing the action instead of stressing over the actions. Now let's move on to the next important thing that I want to focus on today, scheduling. The decision of when to do an action. Most projects seem to emphasize on a deadline, and the deadline is often imposed by external circumstances. These could be your significant other, your kids, your bosses, the law, your own obsessive compulsions. For me, the biggest obstacle to finishing and completing my actions was these deadlines that someone or something had imposed. I spent far too much time obsessing over them and spent a lot of time scrambling to meet those deadlines. Today, I focus on what I can control and anticipate. And basically what I do is that I focus on the deadlines for each action. And since every action is more or less around about 30 minutes, I can work my way backwards to the absolute beginning of when I can start an action, which means I can defer whatever I have to do. Now, this lets me do two things. One, it's a fix for my procrastination habit. And two, it lets me focus on the things that I want to do in the immediate rather than actually trying to sort of think about things that I may not be very happy about doing it, filing my taxes. I know that taxes are going to take X amount of hours, so I can just plan ahead and when I absolutely have to start. This helps manage my own things that I can actually focus on the things that I want to do. My system today evolved from my readings about productivity from books and articles by many people. And each of them, I borrowed something. Like from David Allen of GTD fame, I borrowed the idea of using actions as a building block and how to use deferred actions to plan the future. Laura Vanderkam and her ideas about using the week and 168 hours that make it up inspired me to think on time and how to allocate it to different tasks in 30-minute slots. And the Eisenhower matrix of classifying tasks by importance and urgency led me to work out the scheduling mechanism. Each system is a reflection of the creator's personality, life, and circumstances. And finally, what I want you, if there's two things that you can take away from this talk, then it's this. Number one, you do have the time and space to accomplish the things that are meaningful to you. And a system or any system that whether you create yourself or you borrow from someone else, will go a long way to help you accomplishing those goals. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Arun. Let's give ourselves a minute to provide written feedback to Arun specifically. You can send him a private chat. So we're going to move forward to our next prepared speech. And our next speaker, Georgie, has been with the club for a long time, and she has given many speeches. She's currently the VP of membership of the club, and she's going to give a speech on family wealth organization. Let's welcome Georgie to talk about family wealth organization.
Thank you. Today I'm going to continue talking about finances, especially associated with family, but mostly associated with how to organize your family to improve their finances. Now, the reason that we're going to be doing this is because we are now approaching a time in which the largest wealth transfer between generations is going to be taking place. There is hopefully some possibility there might be some money even coming your way. You never can tell. The problem is that it's almost inexorable that family wealth will be lost by the third generation. About 90% lose their wealth. And this isn't due to what you might think of as bad investments or bad taxes, but mostly due to a breakdown in family communication and trust. So we're going to talk about ways in which you can keep the flow of communication moving among all the members of the family. We're going to get ideas for it from this book from James E. Hughes Jr. on family wealth. We're going to talk about communication, organization, and future-proofing your plans. To start with, we're going to go through communication. In one of my previous talks, we talked about who is your family, how you join the family, how you leave the family. That was all great. Now we have to talk about what is involved with being a part of the family. There are privileges associated with being part of the family, but there are also responsibilities. Everybody loves the privileges. Nobody's so wild about the responsibilities, though. The other thing is, how does everyone get to be heard? There have been psychological experiments that have been done, and we know through anecdotes as well, that people feel that they are treated fairly if they have their arguments heard. They don't have to win the argument, but they have to be heard so that they feel that things were decided fairly. Part of that is that there should be a set of rules that everyone knows applies equally to all members. What are the rules? And more importantly, since you're talking about this over a family, we're talking multiple generations, possibly over decades, maybe even longer. The rules need to be flexible so that they can change over time. What works for one generation is unlikely to work for another generation. So what is the procedure for changing the rules, and how can they be changed fairly? A good way to do this is to start with some documents or agreed upon procedures for everyone to go with. First might be some rules of governance. We talked about rules previously. Maybe you actually, if you start getting large numbers of people having to work together, maybe it's a good idea to write a few of these things down. Starting with your rules of governance. What are the rules that everyone's expected to follow? And how can these rules be changed? Now, another thing is that you might want to look into is an investment policy statement. This is important not just for families and groups, but also for individuals. So this might be something you might want to look forward to for yourself. An investment policy statement basically says how you're going to treat your money. In the case of an individual, you might have a rule such as, I will pay my bills 7 days in advance. And you might also have some rules for yourself or in a group with respect to investments, being something like, I will not invest in individual stocks, or maybe I will invest in individual stocks, but I won't invest in any company that's IPO'd in the last year. Whatever your rule is, just put in your policy statement. So once again, it's kind of clear. The next thing is we talked previously about how one joined and left the family, but there's a subset of the family to think about as well. There's the family's financial business portion. Now, not all family members are going to be interested in finance, but those that are should understand what's involved in joining the financial business portion of the family and how they can leave that as well. Once again, it's great if you've got people inside your family who are interested in finance, but chances are they won't have all the expertise the family will need. It's good to hire outsiders from the family to bring in their expertise and their up-to-date knowledge, such as lawyers, accountants, real estate agents, stockbrokers, whatever the family might need. It's even better to put these people together in a formal board of advisors so that they can work among themselves so that they can maximize what advantages the family can get. Now, another thing to consider is you want to make sure all of this is future-proof, not just for the family itself, but also with respect to individuals. It's very important when you have a family working together that individuals do not feel like the family is tyrannizing them. They need to understand that they have free will and they should be focused on trying to optimize their happiness and their future, not and that the family exists in order to help them do that. Hughes had a very interesting anecdote in his book on this line. For example, showing how communication can seem to be open between people but aren't really. In some cases, you might have a family member, like maybe a son or a daughter, who has a problem with addiction, maybe drugs or alcohol or some other mental issue. And the family kind of all knew about it due to gossip among the members, but they didn't formally acknowledge this. It was a shield of politeness in which no one would talk about what was actually going on. It was actually quite detrimental to the families and to the individual members because they were not getting the help they required. This is a big part of the communication, talking about things that may be uncomfortable to talk about. The other thing to consider is in a family, we often think of the older members as being very important because of hierarchy issues. And then maybe also focusing a lot on the younger generation to make certain that they get what they need for their education and other parts of their life. But in actuality, the most important part in making sure the family survives to the future is your generation. You need to work with your siblings and with your cousins of your own age to make certain that the family stays strong over your generation and that it continues into the next generation. With that, I'd just like to remind everybody that families are the compass that guide us. They are the inspiration for us to reach great heights and our comfort when we occasionally falter. I hope that these tips have helped you think about how you might aid your family in the coming year.
Good. Thank you very much. Now let's give ourselves a minute to provide written feedback to Georgie. So we're going to move forward with our next section of the meeting, which is evaluation. And to conduct the general evaluation, we're going to welcome Gautam to be the general evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'm the general evaluator. So I'll be evaluating the meeting, and also I'll call upon duty masters to give to do the roles. So first, I would like to call evaluators who will be evaluating the speakers of the day, and myself, I'll be evaluating Harun. Thank you. So Harun, you started with a very good topic on personal sharing your personal management or like productivity systems. It's always helpful, or it will gather user or audiences when we introduce with our personal insights on few things. And started with very good introduction on what you're talking about, and you very good aware of the audiences and the excitement and the vocal clarity and the inflection of the speech. It was really good. And when I throughout the speech, I see that some lower than the initial kickoff. It was like you started with very excitement, then I couldn't see that vocal high pitch or some modular, some tone after that. And you used gestures very well, but most of the time, I think it's better if you could move a little bit back so that it will capture your full hands. Like most of the time, it's like your gestures were cut by half. So, but you used it really well. And your eye contact, that was missing. I guess that's because you may be reading notes, and when I put that zoom in a speaker view, like I couldn't connect to the speaker because of the eye contact. And I had few fillers, but it's not it's better than the previous talk. And also I would like to say that should be like should have some pause between sentences so that when you move from one topic to the other topic, so it will be easy for, especially personally for me, to okay, we are moving from one topic to another topic, and this is the connection between these two. So that will help, that some few seconds pause will help me to connect that thought. And when you include a personal experience, it's better to show you like what happened to you on something. Like for example, you started with some time management or product project work. So I was expecting to see that, okay, what is the impact of that, rather than saying, okay, this is what. And for eye contact, yeah, overall, yeah, summary you called with the action items, it was really good. And I would say that probably it could be like a little bit longer. The summary was like less than 30 seconds. It's like when I hear the word like, okay, this is the action item, and then the summary ended quickly. I was like, okay, what should I focus on? So that's a change. So I like to challenge on a few things, like include your personal experience story when we talk about something in related to personal stuff. Overall, it was really very good, and thank you for the presentation. I'm looking forward to the next one. All right, let's welcome the evaluator to evaluate speech of Shoji. I guess it's Ose. Just like
No,
It
it was,
should be a Nash.
yeah,
Anish.
it's me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anish.
Thank you. Thank you, Gautam. Good morning again, uh, uh, fellow members and most welcome guests. Today, I'm going to evaluate George's speech. Uh, Georgie, I see that your speech was very clear, and the slides were very good, and you used very less words, and the way that you post the questions, and you are explaining that what is the importance of those questions, and everything. um, I feel like you did a very good work to preparing these slides, even though I don't have much idea to think in this as a new way to think. It was very much easy to understand for me. I really felt this is one of the things that we definitely need to think to. And I feel like I'm very much connected to this topic too. So that because the way that you organized, and the way that you explained everything in that. I feel like you definitely did a very great job here. And um, I see that you used a constant voice throughout, and it was very clear. And the way that you showed that you started the speech in one rhythm and you ended with the same rhythm. I don't feel like I lost anywhere too, but you constantly made sure that all the audience are engaged, and also you didn't give the too much information. It's like not I didn't feel it like anything overwhelming or anything. And your as I mentioned earlier, your hand movements are good, and your video, the way that you were sitting, everything is looks totally fine. I didn't see anything that you need to improve or anything. Um, but yeah, only one thing I felt is you might need to spend a little bit more time towards ending the end of the speech. It looks like you just I felt like you ended it a little bit quicker. That's other than that, it's overall a very great speech. I look forward to hear more speeches from you. Thank you. Uh, Thank you, General Orator.
All right. Thank you, Anish. I'll be returning the control to the Toastmaster to the next session of table topics.
Thank you. Thank you, Gautam. That's good evaluations. We're going to move forward with the table topics. And our table topics master is Jose. Let's welcome Jose, who's currently the VP of Education, and he has a bunch of duties for us. He keeps reminding us that we have to do. But in the meantime, let's welcome Jose to be the table topics master.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Again, our word for the day is inexorable. This is the third phase of our meeting, which is an inexorable, for the most part, an inexorable part of the meeting. It will be table topics. Give yourselves 1 to 2 minutes to answer a few questions. But my series of questions will be related to our topic for today, which is information and news. I left it open as I had my invocation is how you perceive the news. And this series of questions will kind of jog you, and we'll change your perception. Maybe think about how you perceive news in a different way. So the first question, and I'll leave this open also a little bit open because it's in regards to news. So what is your source of news and why would you pick it? And within this news, what did you think within the current events? What do you think is the most interesting? Who would like to take that? So basically, current events. Anybody? Current events. Where do you get your current events? And yes, oh, Georgie, go ahead.
All right. Where I get my news is kind of from a patchwork of different channels on YouTube primarily, although I do occasionally pop over to PBS, but mainly for documentaries, things like that. So it's rather dull. And things on that scale tend to be kind of out of date. I do tend to spend a lot more time focused on, I find, financial news, although I will inexorably get to the more up-to-date news, but I find I'm lately a few weeks old on my most up-to-date news because I've been spending so much time focused on more financial things. For example, I was kind of unprepared for all the stuff that happened in DC a few days ago or a week or so ago. So I was unprepared for that happening. Didn't even know that was going to take place. I also just recently, kind of on the current news, just currently found out about the ending for the Mandalorian season 2, which everyone was just kind of flipped out about. So I only found out about that last night when I should have been practicing my speech. But it was a very good ending, so I don't think I really missed out on a lot of stuff. I also enjoy multiple channels because I like to get some international news as well. I found a few good channels that seem to be up on what's going on a little bit, maybe in China, maybe a little bit in India, places like that. I used to be more into European news, but it's gotten a little depressing, I guess, with all the pandemic stuff. So maybe it's a little more interesting coming out of other parts of the world where they're not quite as locked down. Anyway, those are my sources of news. And as I said, I'm maybe not the best because I am a few weeks behind on everything. But I'm up to date on more of the recent IPOs. So I think I'm doing well, nevertheless.
Thank you, Georgie. That was very insightful. You get to know somebody a lot also by the way they perceive of current events. So in this, next question, we're going back in time. So what to you is the most significant news that you saw? Where were you? What were you? Where did you see it? And what you thought about it? Something significant in the past that you cannot forget. Something important that happened in the news that was very memorable for you. Anybody would like to take that? How about Amit? Would you like to do that, Amit? Something in the past, something a significant news that's very memorable for you.
From the news,
Yeah.
So I generally watch my news mostly from mobile apps, and I really I regularly follow the Reuters. They provided like short 15-minute coverage. I think the latest one I remember, when I was flipping through the YouTube channels, there was a coverage from one of the reporter. He's from UK, and he was actually talking about the uh, the unnecessary or kind of a he was telling how the Chinese government is trying to suppress there's a specific community in the western part of China called Uyghurs, and they were they were suppressing and kind of they were trying to uh, eliminate them from the country totally, like totally boycotted them and put them on the side. And the way people came to know about that was really surprising for me, because one of the girls, she used to make TikTok fashion videos, and during one of her fashion videos, for about a minute, she just messaged all the people like it's a big injustice that's going on in that part of the world, and then that the reporter from UK, like he made like full 45-minute coverage on what's going on and why was it very unjustified. So that was a very like surprising and shocking for me to see that, and I still remember it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Amit.
Yeah.
Very interesting topic. I heard a few things about the viewers. When you said it, I want to. It's some kind of. If we were out somewhere, I'd ask you more about it. It's very interesting. Okay, so our next question. We will move forward in time, and the question is what news or what do you look forward to in terms of something progressing currently that you're looking forward, something positive that's going to happen in the future because of what's going on today? Anybody want to do that?
I'll take.
Maybe Gautam? Yes.
Thank you, Table Topic Master. So, switching a gear a little bit. This was a dream a few days back. I'm envisioning I was in an airport. There were no airplanes, and the airplanes are converted into floating vessels. We are transporting in floating vessels. I look forward to that in future. The innovations and the technology and the power of humanity, we are looking forward to reduce the time taken to travel from one place to another, whether it's a boring company or it's a SpaceX or any private space organizations. And recently, the reason to get that I got the dream was it's inexorable due to the revealing of flying cars that was happened a few days back by General Motors. They released flying cars, and the same type of prototype I had seen from Uber or flying taxi from Dubai. I was like, okay, the world is moving towards flying vehicles, more in terms of reducing the transportation, making the transportation safe, and make someone to quickly travel from one place to another. So in the future, I expect maybe in a decade or so, we may expect such things could happen. Let's see how it goes. Over to Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you. So we now move to something that's funny. What is the funniest news? Again, this open though. You can pick the previous questions. So what is the funniest news that you've ever heard? Anybody? Anybody? Funniest, funny. Yes, go ahead, Anish.
Thank you, Table Topic Master. Also, the funniest news that we all had is China's COVID-19 numbers are stopped at 80,000, whereas all the world numbers are ranking way a lot. And unfortunately, it's a fun and sad. We all know that it's not true, but Chinese government complaining that they totally control the COVID, and everything is under control, and the hospitals are started emptying, and the beds are available for everyone. And I kind of looked at like as in a two ways. One is why they want to bluff the world, and second is I feel like everybody knows what's the truth, the whole entire world. They look to me, it looked like they're trying to trick everyone, and I felt it's like more they don't need, which they don't have to. Everyone agreed that COVID is not inexorable, and it's everywhere, the COVID-19. But it's really funny to see the China is claiming that it is under control, and none of they're not reporting any new cases or new deaths and all. Whenever I see that the COVID chart, if I used to follow China at starting, but later the numbers were not moving, and definitely it's kind of a funny to see at this moment. Over to you. Thank you, Tabletop Master. Yeah.
Thank you, Nish. It's very interesting how may have to take a grain of salt with some news, and you may want to expand your news research, so you get a better opinions. So yeah, so in terms of expanding, so in this next question, now imagine you are in a bookstore and you had a huge, really huge magazine rack. Which magazine would you pick and why? Anybody want to take that? Maybe Wei Ming?
Yes, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmaster, most welcome guest. Big bookstore. There's not too many of them nowadays. I remember I went into one a long time ago. When I go into, I haven't seen one recently. However, you can find that big store on Amazon or on some website somewhere. There's actually a site called All Bookstores, and you can find any book that you can find. You can go in there and compare prices and get the best price possible for a book, at least from that website's perspective. And you can buy a used book, you can rent a book, you can get a copy of a book from some other country that is a lower price. So I tend to go to all bookstores to get books. And sometimes it's better than Amazon. In terms of magazines, there are so many magazines. In fact, one of the things I've been looking at recently is what magazines should I be looking at, because there are zillions of them if you count them. There are many categories all over, and so I look at the list of top magazines in the world in terms of circulation. There are a lot of them too. One of them apparently is Forbes, and there are several other ones that were interesting. I don't recall them right now, but you would not expect it. But some of them are things like, there's magazines on biotechnology or biology. There's actually those technical magazines are very popular. There's a Cyto something on cellular development and so on. There are a lot of people subscribing to that compared to any other magazine that you ever see. So lots of interesting information in the world. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Amy. So we move from books and now we go to the internet. There's a recent trend lately in that if you wanna get information, you get it from YouTube, you get it from different websites, or in terms of entertainment, there's short video entertainment now in YouTube, and and a lot of people do that. They're really short videos. So we got our entertainment a different way too. So the next question is, where do you get your news and something that entertains you in the internet? So I think, well, our last one is Harun. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Where do I get my entertainment through the internet? Well, the usual channels that I get my entertainment is through YouTube, if I'm interested in a quick break. But in terms of like sitting down and watching and consuming passive entertainment, I think my entertainment is limited to specifically the streaming services now. I have the usual suspects. I look at Netflix. There is Disney for all the Star Wars content they have. And of course, I've been watching a show from some British TV that I've kind of hooked on, and it's actually related to a book that I read a long time ago called, well, I never finished the book, but it's called A Suitable Boy. And so that my wife and I have been enjoying that show for the last couple of weeks. So that's kind of where I get my entertainment from. But in general, I avoid using the internet for entertainment because I don't think that's a very healthy way of entertainment. The internet sort of encourages a diffused way of looking at things. It sort of, because there's so much available, you always have this FOMO, fear of missing out, and oh, I've got to watch this, and I got to watch this, and I got to watch this. So you tend to sort of get consumed by it. My personal preference for entertainment, and although I have engaged in that kind of activity, I tend to prefer entertainment that is substantial, significant. It will take about an hour, maybe two, and focus on that. And I tend to avoid going on YouTube for the sake of going on YouTube for that. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, everyone. Looks like everybody answered their questions. Thank you. I return control to our general evaluator. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Table Topic Master. So I would like to call on the duty masters of the day, Wyoming, to share the timing report.
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator. So I'm going to read off the time for the prepared speeches. Haroon spoke for 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Georgie, 7 minutes and 16. In the evaluation, Gautam, 3:14, and Nash, 2:50. Table topics, Georgie, 2 minutes, Amit, 2:36. Gautam, 1:45, and Nash, 1:47. Myself, 2:06, and Haroon, 2:17. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Wyoming. Let's call Grammarian to give a report on our speeches and the table topic speech. Georgie.
So today I noticed some good usage from Haroon's speech. You said actions, that the building blocks of your action management system. They were 30 minutes or less. I like the phrase endless to-do list. I think at least I know exactly what that looks like. Atomic action as well. Deemed to do. Let's see. Projects, never-ending qualities. Yes. Let's see. FOMO. I like just you have the fact to use that in your answer to table topics. Consumed by information. Emphasis on a deadline. Gautam, I like the way in your evaluation you said, I would like to challenge a few things. I thought that was a good way to encourage us to dig deeper and do a little bit better. Anesh, you said very great speech. I don't know, very just doesn't sound right to me in that connotation. So I would just go with great speech. And Waming, you said zillions of magazines. I thought that was very descriptive. And that was what I got for today.
Thank you, Georgie, for the Grammarian report. Let's welcome Word Master of the Day, Jose, to give a report on word of the day was inexorable.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. The word of the day is inexorable. I may have missed one. I apologize. I have listed here Wyoming, Georgie, and I said it. Anybody else? No? Okay. And that's the Word Master report of this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, we have a fun segment. Let's welcome Wyoming to share a joke.
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator, I will read off this joke. So my memory has gotten so bad, it has actually caused me to lose my job. I'm still employed. I just can't remember where.
Thank you, Amy. All right, let's welcome Anish to share our counter report.
Yep. Thank you, General Evaluator. Today, I'm accounts. Gautam, you did really good. You used 2 hours. Harun, you didn't use any hours in your speech, but entire meeting you used 3 hours. Amit used 5, Jose 2, and myself I used 8. Wyoming used 2 times, and Georgie once. That be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anis. Okay, so I'll be evaluating the overall meeting. I think we started the meeting on time, and for a ballot, the link is posted. Please feel free to just provide your information so that we'll be having a final speeches and best speeches and awards. So the evaluators, I really appreciate your time for taking a deep dive into that and provide a valuable feedback to our speakers. That's the only way that we can improve our speeches and practice ourselves again and again. Um, duty masters, all the duty masters, like I didn't see any glitches. However, I used a word. Um, Overall, it was very good, and today's table topics was awesome. We were it was the question was really difficult to answer, but everyone answered it very well. Thank you, Jose, for coming up with the topic. And it's always encouraging people to think about what happened or what they want, rather than having generic questions. I really like the way that Harun chose the topic of like personal productivity system, which is kind of encouraging our information sharing. What is the purpose of joining this meeting? Like, it's not only like improving our speaking skills, but also to get some knowledge, to get some wisdom from people, like-minded people us. So I really like today's speech. As always, Georgie, your speech, the series of finance is really helpful. I guess personally I liked it. I hope so everyone will finds interesting. And we started on time. I think we're still on track. I don't find any glitches. I would like to ask our guest to give a feedback on today's meeting. Amit, could you share your feedback or some few words?
Sorry, I was mute. So I like the I like the format of the meeting. I think and all the members, the speakers, every one of you is very welcoming, and I like the new speaker is also given a chance to speak on the topic, and patience to wait for me till I remember something. And I think the uh, the timing might be a little bit lengthier for me during the morning because I have 2 little kids at home, so they get up and then they keep coming in and out. But otherwise, it's I feel like this is the kind of thing I was looking for, and it can certainly help me to build up on my speaking and also maybe writing skills, because when you prepare a speech, you have to write.
Right. Thank you, Amit. We look forward to our speech in our meeting. We don't have a Hannah today, so just a reminder to fill the vote ballot. Let me complete this. I'll return the control to Harun.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. If you haven't voted, please go ahead and vote. I think you've got, if you haven't voted, if there's anybody else who needs to vote, please let me know, because we are almost there, ready to announce our winners. Everybody voted?
I just submitted.
Yep, cool. Okay, so today let me just open my browser. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So our best table topic speaker, drum roll please. We have a tie between Georgie and Wai Meng. Our winner for best evaluator is Gautam. And our best speaker today is a tie again, is Georgie and myself. So considering that Georgie has tied in both the table topics and in the best speaker, I think we can safely say that today's best speaker is Georgie. Congratulations.
Arun, yay!
Thank you, everybody. So with that, I would like to call upon, do we have any volunteers for next week's meeting? Do we have a volunteer for table topics? For Toastmaster, let's start with Toastmasters.
Well, I was hoping maybe to be a backup speaker or speaker next week.
Okay, back to speaker.
Yeah, I was gonna be a speaker also.
Okay, so speaker one, would you like, Jose, would you like to go for next week as a speaker?
Yeah, speaker.
Okay, and
Speaker.
speaker two. So since Georgie is a backup, would anyone like to be speaker two? And Annette?
I'll be speaker too. Yeah.
Okay, and Georgie, you can be backup speaker number three then. Speaker number, all right. Okay, and we have a
No,
Toastmaster.
I want to be a backup speaker too. That's why I
Okay.
mean, you know, I want to be backup speaker as well, but
Oh,
between
I
Georgia
can-
and me, we'll sort through it.
Okay,
Well, I can be a speaker later if it's better.
we do need a Toastmaster. Okay, I can be Toastmaster then. And a table topics master. Table topics master, anybody?
I can do table topics.
Okay, Georgie, you can be table topics. And do we have any volunteers for evaluators?
I can be one evaluator.
Got
Any
it.
other role I can take it.
Okay, and I can be the second evaluator then. Okay. In case somebody else, I'll reach out to Hannah in case she wants to. She can join. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for all joining in today. Every week, there's we keep the club alive by joining in. I know it's hard, but thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
Actually, before we go, well, everybody, go, but maybe for the officers, just hang around a minute or two.
Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording now.